Okay, we'll call the meeting of the Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District to order on November 13th. Good morning, everybody. Let's see. Welcome to any of our guests. And welcome to any guests online. Cassie, would you like to go through the virtual meeting guidance?
Good morning, Commissioners, members of the public, and staff. To help us have a smooth meeting, I'm going to review just a few decorum rules for all. While the Commission and staff are in person, we are still offering a Zoom option so members of the public can attend. If you are attending virtually and would like to speak, you can do so during appearances by the public. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on YouTube, and the public chat has been disabled, but you can still send messages to the host if need be. Finally, Commissioners, please use your microphones while speaking and make sure your voice is directed towards the mic. When you're not speaking, please ensure your mic is turned off so others can utilize the mics. As a reminder, only 3 of the table mics can be live at a time. Also, please state your name before speaking for those who may be joining us via Zoom. Those are the decorum rules of the District Commission. Thank you for following them, and let's have a great meeting.
Okay, thank you, Cassie. Any announcements? No announcements. Any appearances by the public? Nobody online, nobody in the room. We'll move on. Okay, we have the consent calendar, which has several items. Approval of the minutes, cash statement capital, cash statement debt service, some sanitary sewer extension plans, the 2025 digester cleaning project work acceptance. Then we have 2 things related to W4, which is the, we're using the effluent project here in-house for systems, and that there's a cost increase on that. That's F&G. And then we have a review of a proposal to award a contract for electrical equipment. Any questions on anything? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
This is Commissioner Freeze. I'll move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Freeze, second by
Commissioner Lankela.
Second by Commissioner Lankela. We have, we just vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Okay. That takes us to topics. The first one is the district organizational alignment. Eric, you're going to lead it off.
All right, thank you. Eric Dundee, Executive Director. I'm here today with Amy Deming, our organizational specialist, to give you a brief background on the organizational alignment work, what the steps we are doing. Specifically, Amy's going to talk about change management steps, and then where we go from here. So with that, let's just talk about the principles of what the organizational alignment is supposed to do and what the benefits are. So first, I want to concentrate on staff retention. We have the experts here in the work that we do. It's hard to find others. Let's try to keep the people that we have and be able to be as efficient as possible. Also, we've talked about this before with the budget. There are positions that are part of the organizational alignment to help us with our business processes, to really concentrate on roles, expectations, and once again, how to do our business and do it as efficiently as possible. And then there's also a 4th bullet on the screen that you'll see that is about succession planning. Once again, we are unique at times when we're trying to find skills and expertise, and why not use this with the ability to be clear for staff about what they need to do or what competencies they need to be part of the succession planning program and keep us, in my opinion, an excellent organization. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Amy, and she'll go through the process and then eventually turn it back over to me. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Eric. So what I'll do is I'll kind of talk about some of the change management work that has been going on. Back in August, Baker Tilly presented their report to the Commission, and there was also conversations with staff in a plant meeting that sort of presented Baker Tilly's proposed changes to staff. And so with that, there was sort of a as you may remember from that presentation, Eric is taking a two-phase approach to implementation, with the first phase being getting an aligned leadership structure into place with those director roles, manager roles, and having that in place. And then phase two will be sort of evaluating and implementing those additional recommendations that were in Baker Tilly's report. So immediately after that first round of, sort of announcing the proposed changes and presenting them at plant meeting, we did a change management pulse survey. It was sent out via email as a follow-up either to meetings that people had with Eric or to the plant meeting. And it had 6 questions, 3 multiple choice questions and 3 open-ended questions. If you're familiar with ProSci's change management model, the questions aligned with, their ADCAR model with the awareness and desire aspects of change for staff. So are they aware of the reasons for the change? And what is their sentiment about the change? Like, do they want the change, right? At this early phase of the change, those were the questions that sort of aligned with where staff would be at. So we had 60 staff respond, and there was a lot of engagement with the open-ended questions. Each open-ended question had, 38 to 43 responses. So for the first multiple choice question, asked staff about their awareness of the reasons for the change, and about half of staff rated that a 4 or 5. If you look at that chart, sort of the darker the color, the higher the level of agreement. So for that early in a change process, I think that that's to be expected. Just kind of sets a baseline for our communications about the reasons for change. Then shifting to the question about the desire for the change, the wording of it was, I am optimistic about the benefits of a new organizational structure. And, kind of similar-ish number, if you look at the 4 and the 5, that's 48% of staff having some level of agreement with that statement. And then a lot of staff, almost a third, being in that sort of neutral 3 place. And then the last multiple choice question had to do with how peers perceive the change. This is in terms of change management, sort of a big driver for sentiment, right? Is what is the chatter about the change? How are people feeling about it? And as you can see, that's about 20% of staff, if you add up the 4 and the 5, speaking positively. And that's not unusual for there to be a gap between people's, personal attitude toward the change and then sort of what they're seeing from peers, especially this early in the change process. But it is, sort of interesting to see. And as I mentioned, there were open-ended responses. So I took some time to look at the themes in those responses and in terms of questions and concerns that staff had, those centered around 4 themes, one of them being management structure. This was similar to some conversations the commission has had as well about, does this structure make the organization too top-heavy? What will that change in addition of those director roles mean for the organization? So that was one of the top themes. There were a lot of questions and concerns about what the implementation would look like. What's being implemented and what's not, what's the timeline of it, what can I expect? There was also, if you think about Baker Tilly's proposed changes, there was changes to the management structure, but then there were also some recommendations for specific work groups, additions of positions, moving some moves of positions. And so people within those work groups, had questions and concerns about what that impact to their immediate group would be. And then another top theme was around how the changes in the structure could affect position scoring and pay for staff. One thing that was interesting as well is Eric, in addition to the survey, right, he's been having conversations with our Employee Leadership Council, and a lot of the questions and concerns that the Employee Leadership Council brought to Eric are the same things that have shown up in this survey. To me, that's really cool because it sort of validates the structure of our council and their ability to be representative of the organization and bring questions and concerns forward that staff have. That parallel was good for me to see from my perspective, right, in organizational development. And then there was also a question around the perceived, what benefits people saw in the proposed changes. And the themes around that was, people saw potential advancement opportunities with the new structure. There were people that, could see, the goals of the change, right, or to create alignment, improve workflows and things like that. And there was some recognition of, how the structure could create efficiencies, improve alignment, several comments about, it's great to see, clear ownership of the collection system in the new structure and things like that, seeing all of the financial roles, together in a department. And then there were also some perceived benefits around improving management. So people seeing that kind of having fewer direct reports to each manager, potentially improving managers' ability to, work through their backlogs of things, have a more balanced workload, and be able to sort of promote accountability and, manage more effectively in their roles. So those were the themes overall. Recently, we had a special plant meeting where Eric took some time to kind of talk through each of the questions and concerns a little bit, kind of following up and addressing those. There's also a frequently asked questions document that has been shared, that had a lot of these things covered as well. And what we'll be doing in terms of thinking about the change management, so this survey was done early in the process. We'll do a follow-up survey, see if it's the same themes or if it's new themes that come up, if, people's awareness and sentiments have changed over time, and then be able to kind of use that to really tailor how we communicate, the change with staff going forward. So the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about in terms of change management is sort of the role of the commission, right, as change leaders for our organization. So I think that, obviously one of your major roles is providing strategic guidance for the organization and kind of that stewardship toward long-term success. This is language that Allison shared when she came to you before, and I really liked that. So I have observed a lot of commissions and committees over the course of my career, and I do, from my perspective, things are most effective when commissioners see themselves as part of the organization and part of the success of the organization rather than as something like external to the organization, right? And that's how staff who are affected by changes also, are looking to the commission as well to provide leadership. And then, of course, for managers, we've received strategic guidance. So they're making strategic recommendations to the commission and implementing that strategy. And then, managers, are responsible for communication updates and a feedback loop. And that feedback loop is, almost like a figure eight, right? Where it's a feedback loop with the commission and also a feedback loop with staff. And, it's just constantly sort of being in touch. And then, over all of that, I see, in terms of change leadership, the importance of a shared vision across those two groups. So thinking about how this organizational alignment work advances our desire to have strategic and efficient wastewater management, and sort of being leaders in championing that vision. You know, managers have a role in championing that vision, and so does the commission as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Eric to talk a little more about the implementation and next steps.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. So for me, just point of reference, we have the 2026 approved budget. So in that budget has the positions and has the approval to move forward. So for me, implementation is immediate. So right now we already have the 2 director positions that are open for planning and engineering and operations and maintenance on our website, along with other positions. So the goal is to get ourselves into that working model with the new management structure as soon as possible. The idea is Q1, Q2 of next year, we have these people identified, they're coming to the organization or moving, and we're starting to work in that process that way. And then we can move on from there a little deeper into the organization, into each department and work group. But I want to be very careful with that. As Amy said before, it's a 2-step process for me. Phase 1, get the leaders, the management structure, and then phase 2 can be reevaluate Baker Tilly's recommendations and how we are assigning work, large things. So with that, I want to transition a little bit with the next slide, just so you guys understand where we're trying to go. So this is one piece of the pie for an aligned organization. One of the things I really want to do is make sure that all the pieces we're working on now, strategic plan, our performance areas, this work here, are all going to the same thing. You know, they're not a separate thing that we're not paying attention to. So for me, this, Amy was nice enough to help put this graphic together, and you might see this a lot more, staff might see this a lot more. But the whole idea here is that we have one aligned organization. Our performance areas in our strategic plan match the roles and functional areas that we have, and we are tackling, you guys picked up on it in one of my budget presentations earlier this summer, about our project portfolio and all the work that we have identified that we're trying to do. Well, the whole point is let's have an owner of that work and prioritize the most efficient way we can and get the highest value we can. So this is step 1, get the people into the right spots. Step 2, you're going to hear about in December. I'm going to give you a insight on the strategic plan and where we're at with doing that, and you'll hear that through 2026. So just trying to put this all into context for you. And with that, turn it back over to President Hovell.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Anybody have any questions? Beth?
One of the issues that came up in the past was around communication and silos among the departments. So how do you think this new plan will help break down those kind of silos and help with communication?
Yeah, thank you. So the first thing about communication is exactly what we're doing today and what Amy had referenced at the plant meeting. We are going to continue to talk about it with all the groups, you know, commission, plant meetings with all staff. And then, you know, that work is going to continue throughout. Amanda puts that into weekly updates for staff. To get to the silos part, that is specific to Amy's work with our functional relationships. I know it's kind of our own buzzwords here, but what we are doing is identifying the work that happens across the organization in each department or work groups and making sure there's an owner, but then also clear roles. I'll actually turn it over to Amy just to kind of talk about the key points in that relationship.
Yeah, so the work that we've been calling functional relationship mapping is sort of, you have your org chart with the boxes and the arrows and who reports to who. That doesn't necessarily tell you how people need to work together, particularly across those departments. So the functional relationship mapping work is, I think of it as kind of having three interconnected parts. One of them is role clarity. So as Eric mentioned, having a clear owner. That doesn't mean that the owners don't collaborate with other people, but to be successful in championing, especially a cross-functional initiative, to keep that moving forward, having someone who's charged with leading it is really critical. Then there's a piece of intentional collaboration. So a lot of times, especially cross-functionally, our collaboration happens with a lot of implicit assumptions about who's doing what, how do we work together, how do we make decisions, those kinds of things. And the goal is to take that and make it an actual agreement of how we work together. So take what's an assumption and turn it into a spoken, written agreement. So there's things like team charters and other tools that can support people in being more intentional about how they collaborate together. And then the last piece is around decision making. So sort of clarifying how decisions are made, because that's often a sticky point as well, especially across functions when you can't rely on the hierarchy to tell you as clearly where a decision falls. Just clarifying, who owns the decision, who's consulted, and things like that. So that's the functional relationship mapping work in a nutshell, that's working on breaking down silos and helping us work better across.
Good, that sounds good. Thank you. I guess one other thing is, when you talk about strategic planning going forward, one thing that I like to see is FTEs and the number of FTEs you see going forward as the organization grows. So what kind of roles and what kind of where would those FTEs fit in, and how they would fit into our overall budget?
Okay, thanks, Beth. I got a question. You had performance indicators on that chart. Who's going to develop the performance indicators and review them to assure that they're actually getting to the work that should be done? And if I could make a comment on the chart, I liked it, but I think you ought to have the district mission. Everything should be aligned around the district mission. That should be in the chart. You have alignment, bubble, but I think within that bubble maybe is the core, which is that keeps reminding people of what they're doing. But so.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I'll respond to that by hold that thought until December. You are going to see a document. I don't want to overshare or overpromise, but it's there. You're going to see a document, a summarized strategic plan for us, and you're going to see our mission, vision, values at the top, performance areas, indicators, and how they tie into our work. So hold that thought. I hope I am able to answer that in a month for the whole commission at once.
Anybody else? Nothing over there? Badri?
Thank you, Amy, for the data. It's really helpful to see how is it going. I just have, so you're going to take another survey shortly, so I just wanted to know what is I don't understand the plant meeting. What is the size? Is everybody is going to be there? How frequently that actually happens? And are you actually covering biggest ones they have about the questions and concerns? If you're taking the survey, again, if you're not addressing that one, then you're probably, that's your goal, right? So trying to see those low numbers on the other side, the low color ones need to be using more and more. So what are you guys doing about it? And how about mainly education, right? So about the impacts and the pays, and those are the big concerns the staff will have. So how are you guys educating, and what is your plans?
Yeah, sorry, plant meeting may have been inside language. So, plant meeting is basically a monthly all-staff meeting, it happens once a month. You're absolutely right that kind of the idea with repeating the survey is to hopefully see the colors move. If the colors aren't moving, then that indicates like we, have more work to do, right, in terms of how we communicate the why of the change and you know, help people see how the changes could benefit them and address their concerns. And so, that's the idea, to repeat the same questions and see if there's movement. And then I'm trying to remember what the next piece of your question was. Yeah, so, to Eric's point, and these are kind of it's all kind of connected work, but he's been having conversations with staff since August, right, at all different levels about the alignment work that's taking place and what they can expect in terms of next steps. And I'll also name some of the questions people have around the implementation and work group impacts. That's phase 2, so we won't be able to really address those things until we get to that phase. So I would expect that we'll continue to have those questions and concerns until we get further into implementation. There's some things that I think leaders can provide some clarity on, but there's other things that are just sort of still unknown at this point.
Also on the survey, just curious, there were 60 respondents to the survey. How many total employees? 120, okay, so.
Yeah, we have about 120 employees.
And this is anonymous?
Yes, it was.
So we don't have any idea who non-respondents might be?
That's correct. For this particular survey, there wasn't any questions about which work group people were part of or anything like that for tracking where that came from.
Going forward, are you thinking about that to get some idea of the responses based on where in the organization the people are working? That makes some sense at some point, or are you just looking at a kind of overall organization-wide?
For employee surveys, there's always a little bit of a dilemma, especially if it's a survey that we're doing internally versus a survey where we're partnering with Gallup or someone to gather the data for us. When we do a survey internally, we have access to the individual response data. So when we ask questions about the work group people are part of, for people that are in really small work groups, that creates a feeling of exposure and can have a chilling effect on their willingness to take the survey and to provide honest feedback. So because this was internally administered, we kind of lose out on that benefit of being able to track which work groups participated, with the hopes that the trade-off is that people feel comfortable taking the survey. In general, for me, when I think about employee surveys, if I have a third-party partner who can, suppress any responses below usually 4 or 5, right? I have no problem sort of slicing and dicing and getting that group level data because there's that level of security for staff. But for internally administered surveys, unless it's something that is unlikely to give any feelings of angst, right, for people taking it, are you coming to the potluck or something like that? I generally don't have that work group level data in there. That's a good question. Thank you.
Follow up on that one. About 50% response rate there. Is there anything that you're planning on trying to increase that at all?
I think I'm hesitant to like over-survey staff and things like that. Yeah, I can think about it for next time, ways to increase the response. I think this time it was sort of a, hey, this is an option that you have if you have questions and concerns that you'd like to share and things like that. But yeah, it's something we could think about different strategies to improve the response rate.
How frequently this was presented to them? Is it like one time or multiple times to out? Like, is that an email? How was the survey was sent to?
It was emailed out after the plant meeting, and then there was like a, hey, the survey's closing soon email as well. So,
one
yeah.
follow-up.
Yeah. And again, because this survey was sent to all staff, we don't have a way to not spam people who have already taken the survey. So when you do a survey with a partner, they can follow up on just the non-response.
Yeah.
So they can send more reminders, right, without annoying people who have already taken the survey. With this being sort of an anonymous, anyone can take it, here's the link type of survey, that's a little trickier because we have to send the reminders to everyone whether they took the survey or not.
You can't even track if they responded again multiple times, same survey as well.
That's correct. That's another downfall to that anonymous internal survey.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, thank you. So we're moving on to the district IT strategy. Bettina Culver is going to lead that off.
Hello, Bettina Culver, District Technology Manager. So today's presentation, really I wanted to take you through a history of IT and really kind of demonstrate how it shows that the district is decades behind in our technology adoption, and then take it forward to where we need to make some investments. And those investments are around people and technology and process to help us achieve a more modern strategy with our technology adoption and usage. Also, along those lines, we'll be talking through the metrics and some risks to that strategy as well, so you kind of get the full picture of where we're headed and how we're monitoring it and how we're managing it. Please ask questions as we go. I would love your engagement, so if you have some questions, feel free to jump in. So here we go, history of IT. Yeah, 1950s, 1970s was that mainframe era. And that mainframe era really was about achieving some operational benefits for the business. It was a little operation, and business really had no knowledge or use of the technology at that time, very separate from IT. Then we kind of moved into personal computing. Personal computing introduced word processing, introduced Excel, spreadsheets at that time, and it really put the power of technology into business partner hands. The issues that it kind of brought about were data management issues at this point. We had a lot of disparate data sources, and we saw some benefits from the perspective of more operational efficiency, productivity gains for the business areas, and an ability to adapt for business areas. I want to call your attention to the bottom a little bit here, because what it's showing is the relationship between business and the IT was very much the support role. IT was separate, they're supporting the business, and business is separate. Then we kind of moved into client server. And so at this point in client server, the focus is shifting to networking, security, those sort of challenges that we had. And at this point, for the first time, CIOs or IT leadership is really being tapped to align business strategy with IT strategy. So you kind of see that kind of merge where IT and business are coming together at this point in time. This is the spot where we introduced ERPs. So you start seeing enterprise ERPs, so like our Workday is one of our ERPs that we're introducing here, come into the market. You start seeing CRMs, customer relationship management systems, coming to the market and being implemented at this point in time. And these are very large systems that we're living kind of in-house at all these various different companies, if you will. They were adopting them. You very much seen improvements in data management. So we're starting to combine disparate data sources. They're available for folks to make decisions and leverage that data. You see improvement in operations at this point in time. But some of the challenges that you're seeing is that it's really hard to manage this infrastructure and these systems, these very large enterprise systems. So one of the things that I've saw in my career is with some of our ERPs at this point in time, you would quickly fall behind. It would take years to implement an upgrade, and as soon as you got done, you'd be behind, and you'd have to start the process all over again. Then we kind of moved to the internet, and this is the 1990s to the present. It really is, the role is shifting more to web-based. IT's role is managing external entities at this point, and it's dealing with more security. The benefits of this era really were for a lot of industries, reaching new markets and being able to engage. For the district, you know, this really is enabling us to reach owner communities and engage with ordinance holders or rebate folks, people that we interact with in the community. Then we moved to cloud computing and the AI era. And I kind of put them overlapping because we're accelerating. And I wanted to kind of point that out and show that as well. So technology is just accelerating with our adoptions and our uses for it as we go through the time. And at this point for cloud computing, you're really having the role shift to rapid scalability. Really, digital transformations are occurring here. And for businesses, these are table stakes. And I want to pause here for a moment because one of the memories that I have is with my daughter and kind of showing that this is a table stakes. So with the new generation, she was then 8 in this organization. She's now adult. She decided to paint in her room and get it in her carpet. And so as I was upstairs inspecting her room and the paint on the carpet and talking about potential consequences, she had my phone, which I don't have with me right this minute, and she was quickly searching to find answers, information that is highly available in this cloud computing era, right? And was able to, within minutes, say, Mom, this is how I can get the paint out of the carpet, to help lessen her consequences, if you will. So, and she's the generation that's now moving into the workforce, and this is what she expects. This is what she expects for her world, and we all kind of expect it if you think about it. I need to be able to renew my license plates online. Please do not make me go to the DMV. It's where we're headed. Yep.
You've got the cloud. I can understand the mobile computing area with phones and that, but the cloud is basically just like a server. I mean, all these they're server farms. Well, I don't like the term server farm because they're not farms. They're data centers. All there are a bunch of servers, and so I don't know what makes cloud any different than when you have servers, other than the internet interconnecting everything.
So the cloud really is, yes, there are a lot of data centers in the cloud, but it was really shifting the infrastructure responsibility to these data centers.
Are tied together, and they basically then morphed into these big server farms because businesses apparently decided they didn't want to have their own servers, and they started paying for that server business, you know, like the 1,000-acre data center going up in Forest, or the one that's started construction in Beaver Dam, you know? So we've moved away from individual businesses and that having their own servers, but yet to me, it's kind of the same outcome. If you have the internet, your own server versus having servers in clouds, I don't understand why cloud makes any different than a business that might continue to have its own server.
So client server, a lot of the technology was very much on-premise, so they were sitting in data centers within organizations. And there is a lot of work to keep those climates controlled, to maintain those servers, to maintain that infrastructure. It takes a lot of effort, work, and keeping it stable, reliable hardware. Cloud really shifts this responsibility, but it has solved a lot of the issues that have been on small IT teams to maintain and not do it well. And for example, when we're looking at cloud solutions, when we think about maintaining our data and making sure it's reliable and durable and there and present for us, these cloud platforms can guarantee that your data will be there 99.9, I'm not going to say it 12 times, but 12 nines after that. That's something we can't obtain internally. They've got more servers, they've got more redundancy, they've got better failover, they've solved these problems and taken on that responsibility.
I can add to that one.
Mm-hmm.
You answered it well. Client server is more like you're actually accessing only your only data. Now, putting into the cloud, they're all like centralized. So now the systems like AI in the future can farm everything in, like you said, internet. That is, even though they're on your server, you're not granting to everybody. There's very limited access. Now it's open, right? So it's just the AIs. Google started this one where it spawns so many servers at the same time if it isn't everywhere, right? So now it's cloud. So that's also the data availability becomes more faster and easier too. Apart from you don't have to have any expertise in-house at all, right? So it's just they make it available 24/7, and Amazons and all of those grew because of that, because they started for their own, but now it's giving for everybody 100% reliable.
Cloud also enables scalability. So as we're dealing with more and more data, and the plant starts adding more controls and sensors in place, and we have larger and larger data sets, it's really easy for us to scale very quickly to store and keep all that data. And it really kind of brings about, having that data at your fingertips allows AI to go through it, to help you make decisions, to automate, and help us better predict or when we might have problems. So that's kind of the advantage of headed to the cloud, leveraging the AI to go across those data sets to help with that decision making. Answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. So basically what the cloud is just things that's more efficient, and it allows for more scalability,
Mm-hmm.
and it basically is the background to AI. Because if you had the individual servers, they may not be going, if we had everything on our server only,
Yep.
they may not be going to the MMSD server to try to find information on sewage plant. It would go to the cloud where those that have it in the cloud.
So IT's role at this point, kind of in this cloud computing and AI era, is really to expand on supporting kind of these hybrid environments. It's really helping with data-driven decision-making at this point, and really focused on cybersecurity. So with this move, there's a lot of cybersecurity work at the end of it. And at the very bottom, I want to kind of show that really business and IT are very much aligned at this point. We're inseparable. Technology is not just a tool, technology is innovation. So, where do you think the district kind of lands on this timeline? We are just starting kind of our ERP implementation, and yes, we're taking it all the way to the cloud, but we're not there yet. We really are looking at IT is starting to align with business, but hasn't been aligned. We've very much been playing a support role to help with operational efficiency, really not doing well with data management to ensure that we had all the data together so we can make decisions. We're still dealing with disparate data source issues. So about 35 years behind, if you will.
Well, you know, that's not surprising. Here's a little, kind of a little anecdote on this. When I started in the commission in 1992, and we had the district that district update where they got those dashboards now, we had that and a lot of information in the spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet on the left side was all these parameters. Like then they have all, the date, and you have all these numbers. Like, I don't know what all those numbers mean. You're kind of comparing them to past numbers and everything. But that was all done by hand. And so when I got on the commission in '92, and I kind of made a comment about that, because even at that point I was using spreadsheets, which is, pretty phenomenal. But it continued that way, and I don't know, Ezra, if it was that way when you got on or not. At some point they morphed to, and we had to hand the spreadsheet back because it was there just for you to look at, and then they'd add next month's parameters on it. So that doesn't surprise me, because in 1992 we were back in 1970. They're little colors with like colored pencils and everything. Yeah.
I have a question, Dan Polt. So we're doing this new ERP. Are we going to get to 2020 now or 2010? I mean, realistically, are we? Where are we going to be if everything goes as planned? Are we going to be up to date? Or are we still 10 years behind?
We are choosing to adopt technology that's in the cloud. So the ERP that we're adopting is software as a service. So we're jumping all the way to kind of that cloud era, if you will. It doesn't mean we still don't have a lot of work to do, because we're still going to have integrations that we need to do with systems that exist back at the district.
So you're still going to be 10 years behind. I mean, and realistically, a lot of data doesn't mean you have a lot of information. You just have a lot of data.
Yep.
Right. And then Badri, you'll correct my wording here, but I'm assuming you have, I don't know what it's called, basically people try to get into your system.
Cyber, yeah.
I mean, when they attack you, and are your grades good on that? And then the customers pay with credit card, and do you do that testing every year?
So lots of good questions there. I will try to remember them all. Please catch me if I don't catch them all. So from a cybersecurity perspective, I want to address your first question first. ERP is a huge step forward to taking us to the cloud platform era. The benefits there are we are going to be leveraging a solution that will be in the cloud, that will be monitored, will be up to date all the time, will be managed by a provider. We will take automatic upgrades, so that burden of where we're falling 2 years behind all the time in upgrades, that's going to be handled. It's also a great stride in data management, because now we have a single source of the truth for our HR data and our financial data. And it's all going to be in one place. It's going to be accessible. It's going to be reliable. and it's the truth. So those are huge strides in that right direction. It doesn't mean that we don't have a lot of work to do for other age systems that we have, that we need to migrate, that we need to improve, or new capabilities that we need to adopt. So think of this more as a journey that we need to take, ERP being the great first step. Yes, cybersecurity as you move into this cloud platform is always a concern. And we have done a security assessment. We have a roadmap for cybersecurity as well, where we're trying to remediate those high-risk findings, and that's in progress. And you'll see that as we get a little bit later into the presentation. It's also something that we need to be mindful of, especially when we start introducing AI, because AI is going to introduce new cybersecurity attack vectors that we need to consider and we need to protect against.
Just wanted to add one point there. We will, private sector and public sector, there is a difference in how fast we can grow and how fast we should grow. Working for a state, have that. I always say we can never be bleeding edge technology in there because we are dealing with public sector, we are dealing with public data, and so we have a lot of responsibility. Not like private sector, they can always be ahead in future and futuristic technologies. We shouldn't be going there. We got to only use the technologies that are proven, secure, and always security-wise, as you said, right? So it's just all the vulnerabilities being tested for the next 5 years or 10 years into the market. Those are the areas we will usually go. We will never be in the area. I think that we are, to your point of, are we into 2025? We will never be at 2025 because we need to have, yeah, all right, to 2030. For a public sector, we should never be there because there's a lot of things that are not tested yet. And we do not want to be in that area, like turning into AI era, right? So you can turn off the walls to replace humans and do a lot of things automated, right? So there is a lot of efficiencies in there, but we don't know what other problems that will bring with that too. ERP is definitely 30 years old technology, but there's a lot more advances in there, as cloud is one of them. Does not mean that now anybody can go and access our data, but just because the cloud HR data may not be available, right? So it should not be available, and so there's a lot of restrictions we need to be implementing with that. You know, yeah.
So if I can add to that a little bit, there are great benefits to us adopting kind of a cloud platform strategy. That's where we're headed. It's that you'll see in some of the slides. It will not be bleeding edge, of course, but we need to achieve some of the benefits that we have where we have a modern solution. We have a single source of the truth for our data in our Workday implementation with our ERP. And so we'll head that way, being mindful of bringing along our cybersecurity program and our data management program as well. All of those have to kind of be in concert with each other to deliver on this. Your last question was about whether or not we accept credit card payments. We do not. That's not. We bill the various owner communities through their municipalities, and then municipalities bill the individual users, and we accept payment from the municipality.
Okay. We'll have Greg and then Beth, but I had on the credit card payment. But we do have, those small businesses that come in and dump, the waste haulers. Do they do credit card payment, or do they pay right away, or do they get billed and then pay later because we have to test it?
Bill Walker, Marty Griffin is shaking his head. They do not pay. We bill them and they pay later through our normal billing process.
Okay, so that wouldn't include probably a credit card payment over online, that we could send bill. They send it in paper-wise and...
Marty agrees with you.
Yeah, okay, so you can't pay your bill online. Okay. Greg?
Great point. We can't pay the bill online. That's kind of expected nowadays.
So I have a more human side question to this, because we, City of Madison, as you guys, several people have pointed out now, right, we're also a government entity. We are not bleeding edge. But we are ahead of you, you know, in terms of implementing stuff like this. And one of the side effects of integrating our data has been, good news is we have a lot of data. The bad news is we don't have anybody to analyze that data and tell us what to do with it, right? Because we never had that before. And so, the fact that we have had this, you know, we have generated now this new information to use that has required new positions, both in IT and in other departments, you know, depending on what the source is. So I guess this is a question to you and for Eric or Bill or whoever. Are there expectations, and I kind of will be, that as you get this online, you're going to need people to use it to help you take out of it to maximize the use.
Eric Dundee, Executive Director. So, to your point, Commissioner Freeze, yes, Baker Tilly's report shows analyst positions. I have talked here about, you know, our budget process, you know, our financials, having somebody in our finance group that is helping the other departments get the information they need, things like that. We're already building a robust asset management plan that has lots of data in it now. That will be step 2 of this ERP going to an enterprise asset management. So, short answer, yes. I'll leave it at that.
Bill Walker, let me add a point. Agree with that, yes. Data analysis is a very important issue. We just had our session yesterday with our ERP implementation consultant kicking off the reporting stream of our work, where this issue was made clear. It takes work to analyze data. That is true. And in addition, one of the advantages of these modern systems, they provide more tools for end users to do their own analysis to some extent. And we saw this when we implemented the Esri GIS platform 8 years ago, I believe. In the past, all GIS analysis had to run through one person. Now we have a system, and we have worked hard to train people to use that system. So sort of bread and butter GIS analysis can be done by people who need the data themselves, and we expect that to be true as well with the ERP and other systems.
Well, actually, Greg answered yes, but I do have a kind of a follow-up, and that is when we think about internal expertise in data analytics and data management versus going outside for that expertise, as we work through ERP and the implementation, I think that, you know, we need to think about what internal expertise do we need to maintain to be able to talk to the experts outside and develop an overall plan for our data analytics and data management.
Great question. If you just wait a minute to some future slides, we'll kind of get to it.
It just bring up a point when we're talking about a lot of data. CD or here we have cloud one era is also known as the big data era as well. So we have so much data everywhere. So we need definitely internal staff who knows how to use that data is very, very important. As we start collecting all of it, we can collect everything in the world. But if we can't use it, the whole data has no value. I also say, probably you guys have all heard this one quote, you confess the data enough, it will, if you torture the data enough, it will confess to whatever you want, right? So, so asking the right questions, using the right ways is very, very important for this big data era.
And that's why you need some internal expertise in this area, so.
All right. You ready to move on, or do we have more questions? Okay. So, kind of where we are headed is, cloud first, modernizing, we're headed towards that kind of cloud platforming solutions where we're going to kind of catch up here. And what does that really mean? That means that we're looking for software as a service solutions first. So we're looking for solutions that are built and maintained that we can adopt and configure for our needs. That is our Workday solution that we've purchased. It really takes the burden of adding that infrastructure and shifts it to that provider, as well as we are kind of always current. So with Workday, we're always current. We always take the upgrades, and they're pushed out and implemented for us. It also means that when we're not able to find a software as a service solution, then we're going to look for modernized solutions that we build in-house that'll be hosted in the cloud. And that really is, an example of that is MetroGo. That's what we're working on right now. So the MetroGo solution is one that we're targeting to be hosted in the cloud. Also, that really means that, I'm going to drop to the fourth bullet real quick. These modernized solutions that we're building, we really need the ability to start moving in that direction while still getting data or information from our old legacy technology. So we're going to integrate via modern integration patterns. So that's really building web services, if you will, so that we can have the system live in the cloud and reach back to the district to say, hey, I would like this piece of data. The analogy or the image that I can give you is, think of this as, you know, the system's going to come to a room that's protected within the district and talk to an information assistant and say, I need this piece of the data. And an information assistant, like, I'll be right back, I'll get it for you, give it to that web service, and it goes back to that system in the cloud. We'll get more to that in a minute because it's to some of the efforts that we have in place to protect the district. And last thing is really kind of addressing legacy technology on a priority basis. We're 35 years behind. We have a lot of old systems. We cannot take on implementing all these large enterprise initiatives at once. So we really need to be looking at what systems will be the greatest benefit and look at the health of some of our age systems kind of to figure out where we need to focus our energy.
We're 30 to 35 years behind. We're spending $6.5 million on the ERP, right? There's that other project that's going to follow up. I don't remember the name now. That's, I don't know, another how many $1 million. I don't know why, and I don't even want to ask the question because they're probably scared of the answer, is why we're so far behind. But if the district had updated like at 2000 and 2010 and so forth, would the ERP still be $6.5 million, or would it be less? What I'm trying to wrap my head around is $6.5 million is a lot of money. Are we going to get our benefit out of spending $6.5 million? But part of me then thinks, well, maybe we're spending $6.5 million because we should have spent $1 million back in 1990 and we didn't, or in 2000 and we didn't. And you get what my question is? Yeah, are you speculating? Nobody has it.
This is Bill Walker. I will take a guess at this, not being an IT expert. A lot of the effort, as we put together the plan to implement the ERP, a lot of the conversations with Barry Dunn, the firm that helped us select Workday, and now with Strata, the firm that's helping us implement, has been on things like converting legacy data, thinking through what our reporting requirements actually are. And I think there is an element of truth, this is my personal opinion, that had we done this work earlier, that the process of cleaning and migrating data would have been easier. We would have already done thinking about what reporting requirements we need. We would already have more experience with how to use these systems. We're having to, as it were, boot up a lot of those, what are now table stakes, as Bettina said. We're having to think about, for example, how does one use a modern financial reporting system? We don't have experience with that. We're still using spreadsheets. So there is some, I think, some truth to that there's extra work in catch-up.
I just wanted to add more there too. A really good answer there, Bill. Cost-wise, I don't know if we have saved a lot of money by going there. I don't know how many of you recollect you bought the desktop in year 2000. It was more expensive than what it was today. And the processing or the processing speed was less, right? Now your cell phone has, I heard this one a lot of times, the cell phone has more technology than the Apollo machines that were landed on the moon. And so we were definitely behind, so we will always have spent more money. IT is not a one-time spend. We will always be upgrading, maintaining, so we would have spent a lot more over this period of time. But definitely we would have at least caught up with the technologies. Now we are trying to catch up.
I'm from the era, Badri, where were limited to file names of 8 characters. So that's going back.
Technology is becoming integral, and as such, it really should be aligned to kind of any infrastructure purchase that we do. You have to maintain it. There's always going to be this ongoing cost. But to your point, and I agree with Bill, if we had been maintaining and upgrading as we went, we wouldn't have as much of an investment to make.
So maybe the money wouldn't have been as different, but the ability to make changeovers and everything would have been.
Mm-hmm.
And acclimation of staff to it.
Correct. 100%.
Dan?
Plus, we would have been able to make better decisions 5 years ago.
Right.
I mean, that lost part you can't measure.
Right.
That's. I mean, the $6 million probably might have been $10 million if you'd done it since 20,000 even. But the people knowledge and they could do today is what you've lost. Don't go there.
All right. So moving on. So the journey to the cloud. I wanted to go over some kind of current and near-term investments, and Beth, I think this really gets to your question as well. We need to make investments in people, technology, and process. So we need capacity. We need upskilling for the staff, so we're getting these skills in place. So you'll see, like, one of the first investments that we've talked about is staff augmentation, and that really is getting us that skilled capacity to help us move some of this forward, to free up staff so we can implement ERP. Also, some near-term kind of investments that we'll make there are, staff augmentation. We know that we're going to need backfill to continue to maintain some of these legacy systems while staff are working on delivering ERP. That's a near-term kind of thing. And then just more upskilling for IT team. These should not be thought of as like one and done. Think of these more as roadmaps, right? So there will always be this continual upskilling need for IT, whether it be in data management because we have a push in that, whether it be in ERP, which it is today, because they need to learn those skills to be successful as well. The kind of second area is technology. We need to invest in our technology, right? And that is about modernizing, securing, and informing. And I really think about this really in terms of 3 large roadmaps that we need to be running in parallel. Security modernization, system, not security, system modernization. And we've already talked about MetroGrow. That's been running currently. ERP is about set to be kicked off, so it's near-term kind of investment. And the one that I want to draw your attention to at the top, DMZ is demilitarized zone. So this is this separate network that protects us. So I've heard a lot about how do we protect us. This is that example that I was talking about where we're walling off our network. We're making a room, if you will, where external requests can come into the district and not pack the rest of our network, keep us secure. And you get that information assistant that's going behind that closed door, that closed locked door, to get the information for that system that exists in the cloud. We're actually making that DMZ investment for MetroGrow. We needed it for MetroGrow, but it sets us up for the future as we start modernizing Journey to have more web services that are getting data from legacy systems here and allowing those modern systems to live in the cloud. The other kind of technology investment, and this is current, we have cybersecurity remediation. Really, cybersecurity is another roadmap that we need to accomplish because it's going to be shifting and changing as we move in this journey to the cloud. Right now, we're focused on remediating those high-risk findings that came out of our cybersecurity assessment, and we will continue to do so. The last one, and also think of it as roadmap, is that data management roadmap. So that is working to make our data accessible, reliable, make sure that there's integrity there for the data, all the buzzwords around data. We need to improve in that area. We need to collect this data. And I would say this is even a precursor to really leveraging AI to its full potential. We don't have the data set to feed to it to be successful right now. Last is process, and that really is getting into practices and processes because this is a journey that we will take with our business partners. If you remember that first slide where IT was very separate from the business at the beginning of this journey, now we're really integrated. We need to understand business process. We need to be aligned. Strategy's got to be an enabler for everything that we do. Technology's in everything. And so that really is kind of getting into some of those practices that we need to establish around how do we have solutions together, how do we design solutions together and implement solutions together with our business partners. So you'll see practices in there such as our agile transformation that we're working on to work through working together with our business partners and taking continuous feedback so that we're not making a huge investment and realizing it's not meeting the needs of the business. One of the things we've already done is we've established support processes and metrics as part of our achieving our capacity for staff augmentation. And it really was separating out support work from delivery work so we could have district staff focus on the ERP and some of this delivery work, but also figuring out ways to measure that we are getting good support at the district. Questions on any of this? And Beth, did I get to your question through this? Okay. So I also want to stop and note that metrics are key. And metrics will change and shift over time as we make these investments in our roadmaps. But they help inform us if we're headed in the right direction. They allow us to course correct. They ensure that we have the right capacity and skill set in place. So one of the metrics that we have kind of under this people area is we establish a resource retention metric with our provider that's providing us resources. Because we know that providing quality resources and retaining them is important to getting this work done. And so that's one metric that we've established that we measure, and we actually hold them accountable to retaining these resources. Near-term metric in the future, and this also answers more to what kind of skill sets do we need to maintain, understanding the skills that the district has, the skills that we need to obtain, and figuring out, where we need to expand in those areas, where do we need to have coverage, where do we, to meet the kind of demand that we're seeing. So that'll be one that we're developing into the future. Technology, where we're modernizing, secure, and inform. We will always have project metrics. So velocity is really the rate of delivery, the cost and the quality to ensure that we're getting solutions that not only meet business needs, but they're easy to use, intuitive systems as well. One of the metrics we've implemented is cybersecurity findings remediating. So as we're trying to remediate those findings that we have, we want to measure our progress and making sure that we're tackling and getting rid of those high-risk findings that we have. One that we will develop is kind of a system health score. And as I had talked a little bit earlier, this is going to help us with prioritization. So understanding the health of some of our age systems will allow us to say this one is really at risk based on its score, along with scores of how is this going to be beneficial to the business, impact to the business, to kind of align on which systems we should tackle and modernize first. We've already established measuring good support, and this is really about becoming that strategic partner. And this was work that we did with our business partners. So we reached out to business partners, we engaged them, and we said, yes, we're bringing in a support team that's going to be doing the bulk of the support. What is good support? What does that look like, and how can we measure it? And so we landed things, how do we resolve tickets or untimely based on priority? And we also, not surprisingly, and through my career, landed on 2 metrics about effective communication. And that was really important to what the district defines as good support. And then as we move into our agile adoption, velocity, quality, and adoption are future metrics that we'll kind of implement as well. Funding. How do we fund our journey to the cloud? So when we think about funding in general for some of these initiatives that we'll be bringing forward, when we're implementing something new, something like the ERP or something like MetroGrow, we can look at 2 different funding sources to help us implement those solutions. We will look at capital. We've already done that with ERP and Workday, or departmental program budgets that have need. And we're doing that with MetroGrow today. So we're using both sources. We have 2 active projects that are an example of using those sources. Ongoing, that really is those expenses to maintain, right? So that's that technology investment is an infrastructure investment. We need to have a run rate for replacing equipment, keeping it healthy. It's also going to be licensing. So when we start talking about software as a service, those ongoing licensing subscription costs are something that will be funded out of the IT operation budget. Of course, this comes with risks. And I want to go through a few of them and kind of how we're handling it today. This is significant change for IT. We're changing their skill set. They are having to learn modern technology practices and development practices as well. And how we're kind of handling that is we're investing in IT. We're investing in training. We're investing in mentors. We're investing in coaches, what they need to be successful so that we can adopt this journey to the cloud. Because we're 35 years behind, we have a lot of pent-up demand on things that really could benefit the district. And how we're handling that is prioritization. And so we need to prioritize and focus and deliver things well and then move on to the next thing. Another risk is that we just have some age systems that, and we have a lot of age systems and a lot of opportunities for age systems at this point. So there's always the risk that one of these systems that we're kind of maintaining is going to break beyond repair. And at this point, not being able to predict that, what we've chosen to do is kind of accept that risk. We know that's out there. We know it may occur. When that does occur, we'll handle it, and we'll adjust kind of our roadmaps as needed to move forward. This is also a significant change for the district. So this is investing in some change management for our district partners as we're becoming that IT strategic partner with our business areas. We've already done this with the staff augmentation. We had a large communication path to go through that continues through this handover of support. We engage them in defining metrics for good support as part of that change management practice. Any further questions?
Audrey? Mentioned about prioritization, because a lot of pent-up demand and all. What does that prioritization look like? What is the role of this commission in that prioritization?
So prioritization is something that we'll be working through with what Eric is doing with portfolio prioritization as well. It's one of the things where IT can contribute through the metrics that we create as well, right? So to help with that prioritization, we need to know the health of our systems. That's going to be a factor in it because it informs risk. And then also with that, we're going to be talking about benefit. What value does this bring to the organization? Our ERP brings great value. It's a single source of the data. We have a lot of operational efficiencies. It's why it's one of our first efforts that we're undertaking.
And just to specifically talk about the commission's role in this is going to be part of budget conversations as we go forward. Commissioner Hovell's already mentioned the millions of dollars. You know, whatever the next one costs is going to be a big amount of money too. So we just have to continue to have these conversations as we move forward in the progress of this.
Okay. Don't see any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
That will take us to the executive director update.
Thank you, Executive Director Eric Dundee. So the two items here, first one I'll take, and then Amanda Wegner will take the next. The first one I have is just a quick note for the a future item. We have received our WPDS permit draft, so we are going to come to the commission. Marty Griffin will do that at a future meeting here to give an update on that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Amanda.
Good morning, Amanda Wagner, Communications and Public Affairs Director. Just a reminder that we have our Public Affairs Study Session on December 11th. So that is not coupled with a meeting. That is a 7:30 a.m. start time, and we will have some breakfasty things for you that day to come a little bit early because we know we're taking up your time that morning. Earlier on Monday of this week, I sent out a survey from our consultant who will be leading that study session. There was a survey link in there. That survey is open through next Friday. So if you haven't had a chance to take that yet, please do complete that survey. That'll help us refine the content and some of the activities for that study session. And just as a reminder, there is not a virtual option. It is in person, just by virtue of the activities and interactive nature of the session. So if you have any questions, please do let me know. But if you haven't taken that survey, please make sure you do that by next Friday.
Okay, thank you. Ezra, committee report.
Just real quick, we met 2 days ago, just earlier this week, and we had a chance to meet the consulting firm that's going to be working with us on the process for annual performance review of the executive director. So we kind of kicked off, met the folks at MGT. I got that right, didn't I? Yeah, good back and forth and understanding what we're going to be looking at, what the scope and kind of timelines are, and we're going to have another connection with them at our next meeting in December to keep kind of plugging away on that. So we'll have updates along the way, I think, as we go.
Greg?
Yeah, basically where we are is we have the subcommittee has approved what I'll call Bill's version 3.0 of a financial report. The CAR, all the financial items that come for CAR, that is not quite ready for prime time. Bill is still in the process of implementing that internally for staff. And at our next meeting, which is Monday, we're going to review the proposed quarterly report format that we have kind of, I'll call it, tentatively settled on. that will be presented to the financial subcommittee, for two reasons. One, just to have that data, and then two, that also is a requirement of Eric's, first year goals, I think. That's not the technical term, but that, you know what I mean. So, all right, so that's it. We have a meeting. Our meetings are down to an hour, 'cause, Bill is pulled in a couple directions for RP, or maybe more than a couple. So, thank
you. Vanessa?
Good morning, Commissioners. Vanessa Wishart, Legal Counsel for the District. You have a regulatory report in your agenda packet today. I just wanted to point out two items. There's not a lot new going on right now. The first is that the DNR's updates to the anti-degradation rules have been pending in front of the state legislature for some time now. There was a public hearing in September, at the end of September, and then on October 30th, the Assembly Committee on Environment asked DNR to make some updates to those rules. So we're waiting on DNR to do those updates, and then we would see that back in front of the Assembly Committee to decide whether to proceed with those updated rules. And then I also wanted to note that there is still an ongoing facility planning rule advisory committee that the Department of Natural Resources is holding pretty much monthly meetings on that facility planning rule. And it's a very extensive update to NR 110 and 108, which will impact how the district does facility planning going forward. So the next meeting is, I think, actually next Wednesday. So monthly meetings, and I think there's one or two more scheduled, and then hopefully a couple more after the committee gets a chance to see those rule updates. So I'll keep you posted on that. And then I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Any questions? Thank you, Vanessa. Okay, future meeting schedule, the 26th is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Amanda mentioned the special meeting on the 11th, and our final meeting of the year is on the 18th. Closed session, do we need a closed session? So we'll be going into closed session. Do we have so the commission may convene in a closed session to Wisconsin State Statute section 19.85 1G, conferring with legal counsel who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy with respect to Circuit Court Case Number 2024 CV 3109 and Court of Appeals Case Number 2025 AP 1725 City of Verona versus Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Commissioner Clark, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Clark, second by?
Murphy, I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Clark, second by Commissioner Murphy to go into closed session. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bookland,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeze, Commissioner Havel,
Aye.
Commissioner Lunkella,
Aye.
Commissioner Lytle,
I'll recuse myself on this agenda item.
Commissioner Meyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Pultz.
Motion carries. We'll go to the other room then. Okay. We had a motion by Commissioner Bookland, second by Commissioner Freeze to reconvene into open session. We did a roll call vote. Everybody voted aye. Basically, we, heard an update on the lawsuit that was the, purpose of the closed session. So we have no other thing to say on that. So, future agenda topics, we don't have anything else. And other business, on motion to adjourn, Ken?
Commissioner Clark, motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Clark, second by
Second,
Commissioner Freeze to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you.